Hi, I'm Cam, and we're going to talk about the best counseling approach to use with substance misuse patients is person-centered therapy. Person-centered therapy began with Carl Random Rogers. In 1942, he wrote a book titled Counseling and Psychotherapy, and in 1951 wrote Client-Centered Therapy, which resulted in worldwide recognition as a leader in psychotherapy. He felt that patients would be further helped if they could focus on their current subjective understanding rather than an unconscious motive or the interpretation of someone else. In addition, Rogers believed the therapist should be warm, genuine, and understanding in order for the patient to accomplish their goals. The humanistic approach centers around the belief in the individual that humans are innately creative, social, and trustworthy. The foundation of this therapy is to actualize tendency in all of us to exist, the ability to move forward for change, to access internal resources. The person-centered therapist views each person as having an innate capability to move towards the positives in their lives and refraining from that which will bring harm. This is one goal of person-centered therapy, to bring an awareness to the capabilities and to utilize the resources already within the individual. This is referred to the actualizing tendency. Therefore, a goal to this approach is to increase self-esteem when a client realizes that they have the ability from within themselves to address life issues. This is empowering and provides hope and belief would turn I lost my way, sorry. Therefore, a goal is to increase self-esteem when a client realizes that they have the ability from within themselves to address life issues. This is empowering and provides hope, and we believe would in turn enhance their lives positively. Perhaps this is a reason why this approach works especially well with those battling depression. The Encyclopedia of Mental Disorders states two primary goals of person-centered therapy are increased self-esteem and greater openness to experience. We believe this can benefit all of us and therefore would be an effective approach to any mental health condition.
Hi, my name is Wendy, and I believe also that the best counseling approach to use with substance misuse patients is person-centered therapy. One way in which person-centered therapy approach is relevant to psychiatric nursing practice is because as nurses we cannot provide care without the use of empathy, which is a key concept in this therapy. Throughout our program we have been exposed to the importance of empathy and how it can be expressed verbally and non-verbally. Our counseling text further explains how it is used for this therapy. Hodgkin speaks to staying with the edge of awareness. To reach this awareness, the nurse, through active listening, would guide the client to the inner core of their personality, to that place which is really who they are, their felt sense. This is where change can occur and where one can realize their actualizing tendency. How and when we respond is crucial to progress. We want to respond to the expression from the client where change can occur. In working with those who have substance use issues, person-centered therapy's non-directive, empathetic approach has been successful. The comfortable environment, which is non-judgmental, provides a feeling of safety for clients. We believe this approach helps clients formulate a strong sense of self, and as it builds self-esteem, can empower the individual from within. By being self-aware that change is possible can help those with addiction issues turn inward for strength instead of seeking substances to escape from their anxieties.
Hi, I'm Andrea, and I'm here to speak about how the person-centered approach is the best approach for patients who misuse substances. Person-centered therapy is relevant to psychiatric nursing because it provides a practice framework for the exploration of the patient's need for nursing and for the provision of individually tailored care. In other words, the person-centered approach emphasizes and channels the efforts of the psychiatric nurse to listen to the patient in order to understand the world in the same way as the patient. PCT organizes the psychiatric nurse in such a way as to allow the patient to guide the nurse through his struggles and needs, and most importantly, explore his own ideas for solutions to his struggles and needs. Through PCT, the psychiatric nurse listens without judgment, without interruption, and without advising, and with an unconditional positive regard for the patient. So one can see that this approach would ultimately expand the self-awareness of the patient. The person-centered approach is particularly beneficial for individuals with substance misuse issues because the non-judgmental attitude and unconditional positive regard of the psychiatric nurse towards the patient provides encouragement to the patient to explore the personal issues that are chronically avoided by misusing substances. Essentially, it guides the psychiatric nurse in such a way as to build the self-esteem and confidence of the substance misuser to engage in the exploration of his or her personal issues. Alcohol rehab explains that the way people view themselves has an impact on how they experience their life, and those who have low self-esteem struggle to find success and happiness, mostly because they do not find themselves worthy of such things. Also, people who misuse substances rely on immediate gratification as an alternative way to facing issues at hand. This is why patients who misuse substances benefit most by a person-centered approach, because it aims to draw out the client's own resources for self-understanding and for altering their own self-concepts, altering their own basic attitudes, and self-direct their own behavior. It helps the patient to learn to examine his or her internal thought process and feel capable and confident in making positive and practical adjustments, and it encourages one to develop positive, healthy, and alternative ways to deal with the desire for instant gratification and or peer pressure to misuse substances. Finally, I'm just going to say that the person-centered therapy for psychiatric nurses is really imperative for substance misusers because the temptation to misuse substances will be a lifelong temptation, and therefore the experience of the exploration and self-awareness gained through a psychiatric nurse who uses a person-centered therapy approach will give the patient the tools to self-examine and the confidence that he or she can be in control of their own behaviors. I think that the patient-centered approach can benefit substance misusers, but also it works well for those with depression, anxiety, phobias, or those who have recently attempted suicide. Thank you.
Person-centered therapy is relevant to psychiatric nursing because it is a therapeutic approach to therapy. Nursing is an ethical field which basis is on grounding relationships. Nursing or care is given in a humanistic way that everyone is equal and deserving to be treated with respect. According to Rogers, in order for person-centered therapy to work, the relationship should be genuine and real, accepting and caring, and empathetic. Understanding must be present. Therefore, the nurse, when dealing with patients, does not show a professional fakeness, but rather their true feelings. When working with clients with substance abuse issues, the nurse must come to the understanding of the individual's biography. Getting to know the patient and learning about their life experiences, histories, and aspirations is one way to understand the areas in which the person's life may need some guidance and in areas where they may be struggling. Person-centered therapy helps an individual to become self-aware, to have greater self-esteem and self-reliance. The benefits of this approach is to give the person a newfound freedom, spontaneity, and openness. Thank you.
I believe for me this is the best fit for my psychiatric nursing practice because I value the premise of the individual having within themselves the power to change. Therefore, I can work with clients to facilitate their own understanding and provide insight. There's no professional barriers to overcome. I'm not viewed as the expert. In this sense, I feel this approach is less intimidating and would be beneficial for those with all mental health issues. I applied this theory when speaking with a family member in my clinical placement last week who was quite concerned about her elderly father and wanting to provide care for him at home upon discharge. I asked her what her concerns were and limitations. She said she's a single mom with 2 high-needs children. She mentioned how draining her life is. I asked her if there was any way to lessen the load. She stated that she did cut out some toxic friends from her life, which has helped. I replied that it seemed to have been a wise decision as her current situation seems quite demanding. She said she will have to think further and perhaps think of some resources that might be able to help, such as a community nursing or friends who can help with childcare. I felt from our short conversation that she reminded herself of what changes she has made recently which has helped, and was encouraged that she has options which she can pursue. I didn't tell her right away to do this or that, but let her come to conclusions herself. In this way, she came to some possible solutions, which is empowering and also contributed to building up her self-esteem.
I think that the person-centered approach is the best fit in my psychiatric nursing practice because this therapy seeks to help the patient find the best fit solution from within themselves. I am of the same mind of PCT in that it recognizes and trusts in the human potential. I believe that each person has infinite potential and that this potential can be accessed and realized by believing in oneself and taking steps to move toward the goals. Using PCT, I have a structure to my practice which offers unconditional positive regard and empathy that guides patients to examine and discover their own solutions within themselves. I believe this builds self-awareness and trust in one's own abilities to make positive changes. I believe that each positive step will be met with its own rewards. This builds confidence in the patient. It conveys a message. If I make a positive change, I will reap a positive outcome. Therefore, the person-centered approach is the foundation of my psychiatric nursing practice because it helps the patient come to view himself as a person of worth through this psychiatric nurse's positive regard, including nonverbal communication. And this inspires and essentially facilitates positive changes, small and large, that are unique to each individual.
Person-centered therapy is the best practice for myself because it is a genuine approach, not fake and empathetic. This aligns with my personality and beliefs and therefore the easiest approach for me, for myself. Furthermore, this approach allows the individual to come to their own conclusions by just talking to a healthcare provider. The nurse listens and guides the patients in a non-directive approach to therapy, and the client therefore comes to their own conclusions as to what is best suited for their needs and the changes they need to make in their own lives. Once the goal is achieved, the nurse can implement healthy and adaptive skills for the patient to instill and then develop new coping mechanisms for the patient. In psychiatric nursing, this is important to allow the patient to come to their own conclusions so that the person feels that they have a sense of empowerment, feels confident, and has accomplished a goal. Within substance abuse, it is imperative the patient realizes what is happening in their own lives and wants to make the necessary changes. Therefore, it is essential that the person comes to their own realization and commits to change.
Clarifying questions. How does enhancing a patient's self-esteem lead to the patient's self-awareness? Where is the connection?
Andrea, you had mentioned that an RPN who actively listens and emphasizes unconditional positive regard is a part of the self-actualizing process. Can you explain how the RPN contributes to this?
And my question is, how does the principles of empathy, genuineness, positive regard, active listening, non-judgmentalness, and non-directive counseling contribute to altering patients' own self-concept?